What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with the overall market and Tesla stock. Just know that I am not a financial planner. So I think that Tesla's going to see a temporary bounce here. We temporarily try to push, but then as time goes on, we could get another rejection, and the downside is not done quite yet. So on the daily time frame, there is weakness on Tesla, and we could eventually come down to fill this gap in the 368 area. But we're not just going to dump straight down to 368. We're not just going to dump straight down. We could temporarily bounce on Tesla, get back up to like 410, even 415. And then we could be looking for a rejection. And then once we take out these lows, of course, there is still some more downside risk. So for now, I think that for the short term, Tesla is going to try to bounce for at least 406 to 410. But then as time goes on, don't forget we could still reject, as Tesla has like a double top rejection here. So keep that in mind. Why do I say that? Well, there is some good news that's helping Tesla bounce. Tesla has cleared a regulatory hurdle at the DMV in Nevada, which means that Tesla could deploy an autonomous car, but it needs commercial approval before any rollouts. That is some good news, as Elon Musk was talking about the expansion to Nevada, and we're going to continue to see the robotaxi expand across the globe. Now, the overall market, it basically pumped with Nvidia's earnings only to dump back down because of the fears involving the Fed. And looking at the numbers right now, we got decent jobs numbers, at least for September, as we saw an increase of about 119,000 jobs, but the overall unemployment rate went up to 4.4%. Also, the October numbers will not be coming out, and that's why the Fed is very cautious. We have Paulson from the Fed that said she's going to be very cautious. On the margin, she's still more worried about the labor market than she is about inflation. And she said we're going to be expecting a lot. We're going to be expecting to learn a lot between now and the next meetings. That's what Paulson has said from the Fed. Very important claim by her. As we're seeing the U.S. economy adding more jobs, the odds of us getting a cut in September, for December, that basically has been going down. That's part of why the market has been panicking for the time being. But that's a very, very healthy pullback move. It's not necessarily a crash. For today, I just want to say just real quick that at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's essentially 15 minutes, then 30 minutes after market open, we have lots of data coming out. So at 9:45 and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, at 9:45, we have the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing Services PMI reports. Look for volatility 15 minutes after the stock market opens. Then at 10 a.m., we basically have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Data and 5-year inflationary expectations. Expect volatility 15 minutes and 30 minutes after the stock market opens, but mainly 15 minutes after market open. Finally, for today, we have a lot of option expirations. We have a 3.4 puts to call option ratio, and max pain is at 666. So be careful. There might be some chop because of this. But overall, I am leaning a little bit more bullish for the short term. I think Tesla is going to retest 406 to 410. And then if we're lucky, we could even see like 418. But at the very least, I do anticipate like 406 to 410. If we take out 390, though, we could retest the lows we saw from last Friday. But I don't anticipate that yet. I think we favor upside temporarily. But then as time goes on, Tesla could reject and turn back down like this. So the downside is not done with. We might just see a temporary bounce before we turn back down, most likely. But if we lose 390, I will lean more bearish. For now, the most likely possibility is we bounce first for 406 to 410, then we could turn back down. On SPY, I think we're forming a wick here, and we could try to bounce a little bit. If we lose 650, it's going to be bearish. We're looking for 646 or below, but I think we favor an attempt for like 660 or even like 665, and then we're going to likely see this turn back down and continue to fall like this. This data that's coming out 15 minutes after market open could help us, and there might be a temporary bounce. As long as 650 does not fill initially, we could bounce a bit, and then we could reject later on. On the QQQ, as long as we don't end up losing 580, we could be looking for a temporary push. We're looking for resistance at 590, then basically an attempt for 595 to 598. So I think we could be pushing another 5 to 7 points on the QQQ. But this yellow trend line is going to be acting as a resistance, which is where we saw lots of rejections on the QQQ, and that could take us right back down towards these levels like that. So there might be a temporary bounce before we turn back down. The IWM could be looking for essentially 233, and then we're going to see if we turn back down. There is a gap to fill at 226. We will eventually test that, but we could bounce a bit before we end up dipping to like 226 to fill the gap. On ES, we may temporarily bounce for 6,600 and 6,650 for some temporary upside. Then we're going to see if we reject and turn back down. On NQ, we may temporarily bounce as we have a divergence, and we're trying to get back up towards 24,500. And then we're going to see if we turn from there as well. But I think there might be a temporary bounce on our futures. On Bitcoin, we could also bounce for 86,000. We'll see if we turn back down afterwards. And once again, Tesla could be looking for 406 to 410 before we turn. Nvda is also looking for a bounce back up to 185, and then we're going to see if we turn back down. Looking at the rejections we're getting off this yellow trend line, so look for a small bounce, then we'll see if we turn back down. On Aapl, we're dipping right here. We're going to see if we could hold 264. If we don't, we could be dipping even more as well, as we're showing some signs of downside. On Palantir, we're trying to bounce here. We could be looking for an attempt to get back up towards this 260 area to 262, and then we'll see if we turn back down. On AMD, we're looking for a temporary bounce to 210 and then eventually 215, but then we could reject there. Coinbase might be retesting this support, becoming resistance at 247, then we'll see if we turn. On Amazon, we have a nice looking double bottom. We could be looking for an attempt for like 222, then we'll see if we turn. Meta could be looking for an attempt for a triple bottom, looking for essentially 596, and we'll see if we turn. Google is going to likely be favoring 300, and we'll see if we reject, but I think it temporarily pushes. And then Microsoft could be looking for essentially 482. So that being said, guys, it's getting kind of late. I think the market opens pretty soon, so I want to upload this video as fast as possible. Look for a temporary bounce on Tesla. As long as you hold 400, we're looking for 406 or so. And as long as 390 does not break, like if 390 breaks, I will turn more bearish just in case. But I favor a temporary bounce. I think we temporarily bounce a little bit, and then we're going to see if we reject afterwards near 406 to 410. Anyways, watch your levels, guys. Thank you for listening, and peace out.